A quiet childhood. On a cold morning in 1928, in the small village of Eldersham, England, Felix Wrenford was born in a modest cottage nestled near the woods. His father, George Wrenford, was a watchmaker, an artisan of time, piecing together moments with gears and springs. His mother, Margaret, was a schoolteacher, a woman who breathed life into books and instilled the gift of curiosity in young Felix. Felix was different from other children. While others played in the fields, he would spend hours in his father's workshop, unscrewing watch faces and peering into the intricate worlds within. At age 7, he repaired his first broken clock. By 10, he was helping local horologists solve mechanical mysteries. Part 2. The Fire of Curiosity. But Felix's fascination with time wasn't just mechanical. He began to ponder larger questions. Was time truly a straight line? Could it bend, stretch, or even reverse? These weren't idle musings, they consumed him. In 1945, in the wake of World War II, Felix was accepted into Oxford University. There he studied physics and mathematics under the guidance of Professor William Hardy, a man who saw in Felix not just a student, but a visionary. Felix's early research focused on theoretical time models. His first major paper, Chronoelasticity, proposed that time, under certain material and energy conditions, could contract or didn't know what to make of it, but some noticed. Part 3. A discovery that shook the world. In 1953, Felix made a discovery that would send ripples through the scientific world. In a controlled laboratory experiment involving magnetism and polarized light in a vacuum, he recorded an infinitesimal distortion in the passage of time, nanoseconds slower than expected. Though small, the implications were vast. Time, it seemed, wasn't as rigid as once believed. His findings, published in Nature, caught the attention of NASA, CERN, and even Soviet physicists. Offers and honors poured in. But Felix remained at Oxford, uninterested in fame. His passion was pure. He sought to understand time not as a tool, but as a living force. Part 4. The Cronus Fabric Theory. In 1960, Felix published his most ambitious theory, the Cronus Fabric. According to him, time was not a linear sequence, but a malleable fabric that could twist, fold, and ripple under certain forces, not only gravitational, but emotional and conscious as well. He proposed a radical notion, that time responds to memory, thought, and perhaps even will. To test this, he designed a machine called the Tempora Lens. It emitted a specific waveform designed to read eventual imprints, left in the ether, of a location, essentially, a way to see the past. Part 5. Conspiracies and Silence. The first experiment with the Tempora Lens was astonishing. In a sealed lab, the machine revealed faint visual echoes of events that had occurred 3 days prior, shadows, conversations, even gestures. It was as though time had recorded itself. Immediately, governments and intelligence agencies began to take notice. MI6, NASA, and unnamed foreign powers approached Felix with offers, some generous, others threatening. But he refused them all. Strange things began to happen, break-ins at his lab, his assistant being followed. And once, Felix was nearly poisoned. He realized he had uncovered something dangerous, not just to the laws of physics, but to the balance of power. In 1972, he vanished. His lab was sealed. The Tempora Lens, his notes, and all research was stored in a reinforced chest and hidden. Part 6. Solitude and Philosophy. For the next 2 decades, the world believed Felix Wrenford was dead. Rumors spread. He was abducted, imprisoned, or had entered a temporal rift. In truth, Felix was living in isolation on a remote island off the coast of Scotland, under a false name. There, he lived a quiet life among seagulls and books, tending to a lighthouse and writing by candlelight. He penned a philosophical manuscript titled When Time Whispers, arguing that time was not a dimension, but a living, sentient presence. The manuscript remained unpublished, yet it would later become legendary among temporal theorists. Part 7. Return and Final Experiment. In 1999, as the world braced for the Y2K scare and the dawn of a new millennium, Felix Wrenford reappeared in Oxford, old, bearded, and frail, but eyes burning with the same unyielding spark of wonder. He announced his final experiment, the moment of fold, a full-scale activation of the Tempora Lens, not merely to observe the past, but to interact with the temporal fabric itself. On a cold January day in 2000, in front of a select few scientists and journalists, Felix powered on the lens. What happened next defied all understanding. The walls of the lab shimmered. The air grew dense. Onlookers reported seeing ghostly visions. 1945, 1972, and 2000 all superimposed in one room. Laughter from a bygone era, the ticking of old clocks, and even young Felix playing with his first watch. And then, light. Blinding, pure, eternal. When it faded, Felix was gone. No explosion. No trace. Just the quiet ticking of a clock. Part 8. Legacy and Mystery. In the months that followed, authorities attempted to access the lab's materials, but the electromagnetic shielding prevented entry. Then, in 2006, a young scientist named Emily Wrenford emerged. She claimed to be Felix's granddaughter and presented a USB drive and notebook left in her care. Inside were Felix's final instructions. Time is not to be controlled. It is to be heard. If you ever hear time breathing, listen, but never speak back. Emily continued his work, not to change time, but to understand its voice. She developed a new Tempora Lens, one that could witness, but not touch. It birthed a new branch of science, temporal epistemology, the study of how memory, consciousness, and reality intertwine through time. Epilogue, the whisper of time. Today, Felix Wrenford is a legend. Some believe he's trapped in the past. Others say he walked into the future. Perhaps he became time itself. But one thing is certain. No one has ever listened to time so closely, nor disappeared so quietly into its depths